Let's do this. Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. It's been a while, but we're back. Or at least it feels like it's been a while. We missed last week because of a random unexpected blackout. We had no power, but we are back this week. So I'm Ethan. I'm the Dungeon Master for this 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons show. And we have 4 wonderful players who will now introduce themselves. Nick, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm Nick. I play Thaddeus Hammerlock, a human vengeance paladin.
I'm Kay. I play Harmony, who is a tiefling wild magic sorcerer.
I'm Melissa. I play Mara, who is a rogue human pirate.
I'm Zach, and I play Hunter, who's a Warforged Fighter Ranger.
So a couple quick announcements / items of business before we get into a recap and then start. We stream on Twitch every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time and then post our episodes to YouTube the following Wednesday. Throughout the show, we use a variety of custom items as well as a custom wild magic table. So be aware of that as you're watching. Our music comes from BattleBards, TabletopAudio, and Incompetech. And our character portraits on the new info cards as well as on the starting screen, which you may have just been watching if you're with us on Twitch, are courtesy of an artist by the name of Carrie Peach. And so if you're watching us on Twitch, you can check the channel page for links and info to pretty much everything I just mentioned and more. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can check the video description for similar information. And then if you want more information, so for example, like when we are going to cancel due to a power outage, you can follow us on Twitter at AntiheroesAnon. And if you missed that just now, the information is on the YouTube page or the Twitch page, whichever one you're watching us on. Other than that, we hope you enjoy it, and we'll get right into a recap. The party picked up Eli and Dawn in Redwater on their way to save their friend Mandus in the city of Ravenmoor. Once they arrived in Ravenmoor, they saw that Queen Ixlati and her Yuan-Ti lackeys were enslaving citizens in order to build a massive pyramid over the ruins of First Light Orphanage. And also a portal to the Shadowfell, which is probably the more important bit. They didn't defeat some refugees, they defended some refugees from a group of undead while also assisting a troubled birth. And then the next morning they set out to the Temple of the Raven Queen, where they found Kuor, a warforged Illithid mind flayer, who they've had run-ins with before. And Kuor gave them an offer for assistance in freeing the city if they were willing to cooperate with him, but they rejected his offer and fought him, resulting in both sides taking heavy injuries. But Kuor managed to escape alive. Then the party proceeded to find a secret entrance lower into the temple, where they found a location known as the Library of Bones and Memories, and they learned many things, some of which included some of the origins of the Raven Queen herself. And so that's where we're going to pick up tonight's episode, directly in the Library of Bones and Memories, where you guys had descended down a ladder and found yourself in this vast natural cavern with offshooting tunnels in sort of like a web network. But the main chamber itself had a sort of a clear, eerily clear pool in the center of it, as well as just piles of various junk all around the exterior. And so at some point, Thaddeus and Hunter broke off to go speak with the creepy librarians that run this place, but Harmony and Eli sat down by the pool and had a little bit of a heart-to-heart, while Mara and her rat Pinky were searching through the piles of junk. So we'll just tune in with Mara first and see what she's been getting up to, and then everyone can catch up with where we ended last episode. So let me just get some music and then we'll get going.
Oh boy. Shoveling away.
Where is it? Here we go. Mara, you came down into this cavern filled with all these piles and piles of stuff, just furniture, candles, trinkets, and junk, as far as the eye can see. And you were greeted by a seemingly sentient marionette with the head of like a stuffed raven head, basically, that called itself Secret when Thaddeus asked his name. and Secret, in kind of his bored, monotone voice, requested A, that you put on a paper hat, which he seemed to have a stack of. And he even made a little one for Pinky, that Pinky put on. And B, that you just sort of go about your business, and you can ask, in that you ask Secret if you need anything, but he kind of didn't seem interested in actually helping you that much. So you're just kind of turned loose into the pile of junk, and Mara proceeded to just dive in while everyone else went around about their search in other areas.
Pirates treasure trove, eh?
Seemingly.
Somebody's treasure trove.
So what you can do is you can roll, we'll start just rolling the first one, but you can in this room roll a total of 3 investigation checks,
Okay.
and depending on what you roll, you'll find different things. So we'll just start with the first one, and then we'll see what you find, and I don't know, things might spiral from there.
13.
13. Consult the table.
That's actually pretty good for
Negative 2.
I need to pull up one table. Can you go ahead and roll a D100 for me? So that's
You need 2 of them.
yeah, it's the 2 D10s, and you kind of add them together and see what you
There
get.
you go.
61.
Yeah. Hit it, 61.
that was the best investigation check any one of us ever got in this room.
Yeah.
You're good. I feel like I learned something like sub 20.
Maybe I'm wild.
Yeah, it didn't go very well.
Yeah, the first thing that you find seems of any significance whatsoever is a like a carved bust of a figure, and you pull it out of a pile, and it's just buried in stuff. And you pull it out because you kind of grab onto it, and it feels solid and large, and so you begin to pull it out, and you find yourself holding this bust, and the person depicted in the bust is just completely disfigured. Like, part of their face seems to be, slouched lower than the other part. One of their eyes seems to bulge bigger than the other one. They have no eyebrows whatsoever. They seem to be gone entirely. And it's just an utterly disfigured bust of a person. And that's the first thing that you find.
There's like, it sounds like somebody got even with a boyfriend or something. And then asked his head. Try again.
Try again. So you just kind of toss the bust and throw it away. Sure. Roll another investigation check.
I think you get 2 more. Right?
Mhm.
9.
9.
I will point out that if you really are wild about finding out more about any of these things, you can take them over to the pool and
I
see
don't
if
want
they're
to go into the pool with the crusties.
I know.
Like, what
Yeah.
happened with the gong?
So
Or the
you,
bell?
after digging through the base of the piles,
We'll
you
get to
begin
that.
to climb up to the top of the piles and sort of get a better look. Pinky sits up on your shoulder and kind of with his paper hat is looking around with you. And then you spy at the top of one of the other piles an interesting looking piece of furniture. It's a couch, sort of a long sofa of sorts, but it's incredibly royal and regal looking. It has this kind of beautiful scarlet color to its cushions, and they seem to be embroidered with this like a golden cord around the edge of each of the cushions and things like that. And it just has this air of nobility around it. That's the next thing you find.
How did birds get that? Okay, I'll take the picture, the cushion,
You pull off one of the cushions.
and go to the water with it.
As you pull off one of the cushions, there's a and as gems essentially begin to spew forth from underneath the cushion.
Whoa!
And hold on, let's see how many there are.
Vicky, help me! Grab some!
Paper hat. Try to catch it.
Yeah, there's something like 100 gems that just
Oh
spill
my
out
God.
from underneath the cushions and just sort of flow down the pile.
Is anybody else near me?
I'd say it's
No, yeah, I think that
I'm alone.
this is like when. Well, this is when like Harmony is with Eli and Hunter and I are together.
So we're down there.
Yeah, there was a moment when you guys were sitting by the pool and Mara kind of appeared from the other side of the pile and said, "I think I found something!" And I think this is that moment.
Okay, so I'm gonna grab this, try and get them all in my knapsack real quick.
What
Before
did
they
you
disappear.
find?
Yeah, just write down, we'll see how many you manage to get before they're engulfed by the pile. Wow, actually, like 60 of these gems.
Cool.
Wow, you work fast.
That's, yeah.
Got those quick hands.
Yeah.
Dexterous.
And then the rest
It
are
was
the
missile
finished.
snaring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the ones that slip through your grasp just kind of like melt into the pile.
Okay.
Sweet.
No.
Yeah, they just kind of like disappear into it and they're lost to the pile.
Okay.
So yeah, write
Everybody's gonna
down
be so happy with me.
write down like 60 gems from a couch or something like that.
60
That,
couch gems.
that distinguishes
60
what we're about them.
60 gems that just kind of like fell between the cracks of this couch.
Yeah.
You know what happens.
It happens.
And they're of like varying colors too. So it's
Somebody
like there's
some
red ones,
royal
blue ones.
Tish's pockets were loose. I
Yeah.
guess.
Couch of gem snaring.
You still gonna take the
Yeah.
cushion to the lake?
Okay. You take the cushion to the pool, and as you dip your hand in there along with the cushion in your other hand, there's a lurching sensation as you're pulled into your memory.
I
and,
grab the back of her shirt.
you are forced first to remember something of strong emotion, like a significant emotion to Mara. And then secondly, you'll get a memory associated with this item. But first you see something that is of a powerful emotion to Mara. So what do
Yeah.
you see?
My regret of not saving Leah. Remember?
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So you briefly are drawn into your memory and you find yourself in that same alleyway in the streets of Farendel. And you can see the Warforged descending along the sides of the alley and closing in on you. And you can even feel it in your memory. Your body is weaker than it is now. Like you can tell that you're currently in better physicality than you were back then. And as you're looking up at these Warforged descending, you just remember that feeling of despair, knowing that you'll have to leave. And you see Leah turning to you, and she recites the same lines that you remember, where she entrusts the crystal ball, her precious crystal ball, to you, and begs you to leave. And then you see yourself fleeing the alleyway, and it's almost as if it's in slow motion as you turn around and see the Warforged descend around Leah, and then you turn the corner of the alley, and that's the last you see of her. And then the memory shifts, and you see yourself standing in a room of lavish furnishings, and there's just all manner of arcane spell books on desks and alembics on other desks, and bookshelves filled with literature that you can't make out what it is. But in the center of the room is this couch, and you can see that there are arcane runes scribed around it. And you see the person whose vision you're looking out of, you can see that they're referencing a tome of some arcane nature. And go ahead and make an Arcana check.
Sounds like your best shot.
Intelligence.
Is it intelligence?
It is intelligence.
Oh, there it
You
is.
got this. You got.
So 15.
15. Okay. You can just like in the brief glance that you get at this book, as the person whose eyes you're seeing through is kind of like muttering and like talking to themselves. You can just make out enough of the wording to tell that they were commissioned to enchant this couch by some noble person, and they're kind of muttering and grumbling about it. And they're like, just protection against thieves. Yeah, right. This isn't going to do anything. No one's going to fall for that. And then they go back into muttering about their arcane work, and the vision pulls you back out, and you're by yourself again, standing by the pool. You can see that Harmony has grabbed onto your cape to keep you from falling in.
Thanks. Wait till you see what I have in your knapsack.
Well, you're being very secretive about the things that you're finding over there.
Eli chimes in. Hey, what do you have in your knapsack? What'd you find?
I open it up and show him.
Whoa! Whoa! That's more gems than I've ever seen in my life.
Go ahead, take some.
Can I tell how much they're worth?
Make an intelligence check.
Our
Just
resident.
straight intelligence. Hey, my intelligence is not bad though.
This is technically tavern music.
Oh, natural 20!
Okay.
You know,
That's what I wasted
by
my
the
20
copper,
on.
you know how much they are.
22 total.
22 total.
Yeah, you take one in hand, and at first you're dazzled by the sheer amounts that are in the bag. So even with that roll, it takes you a few moments to realize that what you're holding is unfortunately a fake gem of almost no value.
Oh. They're really pretty, Mara, but they're counterfeit. But we might be able to swindle someone into thinking they're real. Might
Yeah,
That is an earburger.
It's a convincing fake, but it's something about the weight that puts you off. It doesn't feel like it weighs as much as it should.
We might be able to figure something out with these. Maybe someone who's never seen a gem before in their life.
Or maybe you can fashion them into jewelry.
And they're not going to be as strong as real gems.
You know,
chance.
Hunter will play with you if you guys need a bro.
But we can still fashion them into jewelry and put an enchantment on it. It's not going to have as much power as something like this, and I pull out my review something. But it'll make nice jewelry.
I was just thinking a whole bunch.
Yeah,
Hello.
they're still cool. Put it back. You can hang on to them, Mara.
I get to carry around with this rocks. Worthless, pretty, sparkly rocks.
They're pretty. Sparkly.
Yeah, suddenly the bit of arcane intuition that you got when you were looking through that person's eyes makes sense, and you can see how this could be construed as a defense against thieves, perhaps.
Yes.
It all makes sense now.
Go ahead and as Mara returns to searching, make your last investigation check.
Okay. Which one? This one. 8.
8.
I'm settling.
So I know.
Let's see what table we get to roll on.
Getting better and better, isn't it? Your old friend.
Disenchanting now.
Yeah, we help you out here. Just make it a little more easy.
You find at one point you find a shovel, and you use that to basically begin digging an entire stack away to see what is like at the very in the very center of the stack, because that's where something good has to be. And when you get to the center of one of these piles of junk, you find a basically a glass statue sitting on kind of like a marble plinth that seems to have been like the central support for this entire pile. And the statue is of this glass statue is carved of a jellyfish.
Alright, should we give it one more go?
Unfortunately, you're probably what's Mara's strength?
16?
You might be able to move it.
Oh, I'm sorry, 12.
Oh, 12?
I was thinking that defensive. Never mind. Okay, 12, sorry.
You're probably not going to be able to move this whole statue on your own to the center of the
I can move it well. If you want me to.
What do you think? Should we try?
Why not?
Let's do it. Make him telekinesis.
Yep, so the thing shifts out of the pile and the rest of the pile comes crashing down. And you manage to, with telekinesis, drag that thing next to the...
I like that you found a bunch of furniture
And then I just beckon. Like,
Like,
Yes.
we were wondering at
Alright.
first, like, when you were on the carved bust, they're like, the couch.
The
they're like,
couch.
how did the birds get this in here?
I know.
Now I'm really wondering, how did the birds get this in
It's a
here?
good question. It's a very good question.
Magic birds.
So I set it down next to the water and then I gesture after you.
Okay.
Probably birds with arms.
I grab your
I'll
cape again.
grab one of its little tentacles, I guess.
Okay. Mara, as you grab one of its tentacles, the statue of the jellyfish actually its tentacles begin to flail, just kind of flailing about. And Harmony, they almost kind of like smack you in the face a little bit. We managed to dodge out of the way. And no, just as long as you like maintain contact with the statue, it seems to be like flailing constantly.
Ooh.
But you manage to, touching the statue, dip a hand into the water.
Who is this
Are you sure
person?
you still want to do this?
We're about to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
Do you still want to know who did this?
I've got a cloak of the mana right. I'll be alright.
Okay. You dip your hand into the water, and you feel that same lurch of memory as you're pulled back into your memory first, and you see a different moment of strong emotional connection. What do you see?
Having to leave my grandfather when he was sick.
Oh, okay. So you find yourself looking through your eyes on the dock of whatever port it was that you landed at with your grandfather, and you can see your grandfather's ship sort of docked there. And I can't remember, what was your grandfather's ship name?
He is boy.
No, what is your dad?
Ship's name?
Yeah, the ship's name.
Anton.
The ship's name.
Oh, I don't have a ship's name.
We've named it twice now, I think, but I can't remember what it was. I can look it up later. But you see the name of the ship across the boat, so it's very clearly what you're looking at. And you can see that each of the crew members that you recognize kind of working up on the deck, getting ready to set sail again once you've made your departure. And your grandfather, Anton, kind of is standing in front of you on the dock. And you can see that he's very clearly sick and not well. His skin looks paler than it should, and he's like sweating a lot more than he should be based on the temperature of the location. And you can actually see that he has like boils and warts beginning to form in certain places. And he turns to you and coughs. Mara, I'm sorry that we have to part in this way, but you understand, don't you?
Yeah, if I have to.
We just can't afford for you to fall ill like the rest of the crew. Your parents would never have forgiven me. He coughs up a little bit of blood onto the dock. Aw. Does Mara say anything?
I thought it was a memory.
I mean, it's, even in a memory, you can say what you would say.
Let's say, well, my goal is to get a ship and come back with a cure. So hopefully it won't be the last time we see.
If you can find a cure, then by all means, please do. But without it, please, promise me you won't follow us. It's us who nearly got you into this to begin with. I'd never forgive myself if this plague were to shift to you as well.
Okay.
Promise me you won't come unless you have a cure.
Fine, I promise.
Okay, and he kind of nods.
Fingers are crossed behind my back.
First day ever.
In true pirate fashion. Yeah, he nods, having gained your promise. And you can see he kind of like takes a step forward as if he wants to hug you, and then thinks better of it, and begins to turn around to go head back towards the ship. And then he pauses for a moment, coughs, and then turns around and says, Just think of your grandfather. Whenever you hear one of the shanties we used to sing. And then he begins to, through coughing and spitting up blood, walk away humming one of the shanties you're familiar with from your childhood. And you watch as the ship begins to make preparations and leave port. And finally, it disappears onto the horizon, out of sight. And you, through your vision of memory, you turn around and watch yourself head into the city. And then the vision changes, and you're looking from a lower perspective, like a child or maybe a halfling or a gnome. And you're looking up at this statue, but you can see that it's like taking up a decorated place on a dock that you're unfamiliar with. And as you look around, you can see that there are other children gathered around, and everybody seems to be taking turns touching the statue and making its tentacles just flail around. And then whenever it does, all of the children squeal and they run around in circles, and they run off the deck, or they run down the dock, or some of them will just dive into the water. And you watch this playful memory of joy and just like pure childlike joy play out for a few minutes before you're jolted back into the Library of Bones and Memories, and you find yourself again being held by Harmony from falling into the
And
pool.
I'm like dodging the tentacles as I'm holding you.
Oh, good stuff.
Well, that was a fun memory. There's children all around touching it, making it flail on a dock, but I couldn't tell where it was. That was fun.
Cool. I don't think we can keep it though, Laura.
No, but I like it.
It is cool though.
Try to select a new card.
You don't know, like, a shrinking spell. So you
Ah,
can put it in this bag of holding.
not on purpose.
That's a good answer. There you go.
And it wouldn't be permanent either. It would only be temporary.
Okay. I'll have to leave it here.
But you could make one like it, can't you, with your carpentry skills?
Could. I remember it.
And then maybe I can figure out how to enchant it and make it move.
And then you have to worry about shrinking it again.
No, she makes a little
Just kidding.
A little miniature.
Yeah. Maybe you teach Pinky to do it.
The detail on the tentacles would be hard to replicate in wood, but you could certainly try. It's about this time that Thaddeus, Dawn, and Hunter emerge from the tunnel that they went into. And Thaddeus approaches the pool holding a tiny silver bell and places his hand in the water. You watch as he goes, becomes still for a moment, nearly falling into the pool. A couple of you have to kind of hold him back. Dawn kind of aids in that effort.
really tempted to push him in.
Dawn
Yeah.
is holding him back.
I
She's
know.
certainly stronger than you.
I like reach for him and then I'm like, oh.
And then when Thaddeus finally returns to himself,
Has Mara made, like, the shoveling stuff that Mara and Harmony both just, like, yanked up? Is that the pile that I, like, need to look at? Okay.
nope. So what you saw, to refresh your memory,
Yeah, I have it all here.
to refresh the
Refresh everyone else's
Everyone's
memory.
what you saw when you looked in the pool was yourself standing in this room as it was before there was all of this clutter here. And you could see that there was a carved tunnel at the end of this natural cavern, which is now, in the current point in time, completely obscured by stuff. And you could hear in that memory, or whatever it was that you saw, a faint ringing of a silver bell coming from down that tunnel.
So I would say, Mara, where's that shovel? I saw you using it a little while ago. You see there?
Yeah.
Something past there. There's like a door, a cabin past that huge pile of junk.
Just go explore it. Come on, guys, help.
I use telekinesis to dig holes.
Yeah, so with telekinesis and the shovel, it's not long before you have that area of the cavern exposed. And sure enough, there is a carved tunnel leaving this natural cavern. And kind of as you begin the excavation, Secret has wandered over to sort of join you. And he's just kind of like sitting atop the couch that Mara found and peering over the back of it and just watching you as you're leaving. Or as you're excavating this area. But eventually you manage, and the hallway is clear before you. And you can see that it extends forward for quite a ways. But it's a worked stone hallway. I don't have any dwarves to identify the origin of the architecture. But the architecture itself is very smooth and fluid. It looks as if it was very intentionally put together for a beautiful presentation. And you can see that there are alcoves along the hallway, which have plinths in them, and they seem to have like statues or things on them as well. But you can't really make out what the statues are.
I'll turn to Secret and say, Secret, what lies beyond here?
Oh, I mean, I've never really been able to go back there since I was tasked with watching this place. But I've been told to instruct those that come this way, if anyone should seek the chamber beyond, that is the Sepulchre of Ravens.
The what now?
The Sepulchre of Ravens.
And it's used for what exactly?
And he kind of shrugs.
Okay, you just know what it's called.
Look, that's all I know.
Okay.
And you can see that he's kind of like looking back and forth at each of you and taking stock of the fact that each of you is still wearing the paper hats.
Sure are. Mine's bright pink. No, it's red.
That's whatever color you want.
I think I made it red last time. It's a jaguar. So the thing that we need to find is down that hallway.
It's not in the library, and it's not here, so it must be where we haven't been.
Sounds good enough for me.
Are you ready, Mara? You done exploring?
So, did you use it yet? Because we took a short rest too. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we took care of that before we started playing.
I was at 40, yeah.
Alright.
Okay, let's go.
Alright.
Okay.
Thanks, Richard.
You begin to make your way down the hallway, and it becomes immediately apparent as you light up the alcoves with Thaddeus' sword and Dawn's mace, which is now drawn again, that the statues on the plinths are actually no statues at all, but living ravens that seem to be perched there.
Are they the same birds that were coming through?
It could be. But they sort of, as you walk up to the first set of plinths, their beady little raven eyes and long protruding beaks turn towards you and kind of look at you, and they cock their heads a little bit.
Oh, I'll nod back. I want to do it, not like every single one. It's like that.
Yeah, it just kind of silently watches you.
Cool.
And some of the plinths, as you progress a little bit further down the hall, don't have any ravens perched on them. Some of them have 2 or 3. It just seems like they're roosting here for the time being. And the hallway goes on for maybe 100, 120 feet before you emerge into a vast chamber, which you can actually see on the map. Viewers won't be able to see that because I'm not switching the stat cards off yet. But it's this...
Oh, whoa, that's there.
Shh. It's this vast chamber of more worked stone, and you can see that as the chamber opens up, the designs there seems to be designs on the wall of like ravens taking flight and then flying through the sky and things like that are just carved elegantly into the stone. On the second tier, which stands maybe 10 feet above you, you can just make out the top of a obelisk-like structure, but you find yourself sort of at the base of 2 stairways leading up on the left and right, and can't see much other than that.
I'm gonna cast Detect Magic.
Okay.
It's my
Yeah,
last cast of the day.
you can see some magic radiating from just the tip of the obelisk that you can see. and it belongs to the School of Alteration. I think it belongs.
I don't know if that's a school.
Alteration?
Transmutation.
Transmutation? There's no
Alteration is-
Alteration in Skyrim, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I was like, what game is that from?
Yeah. Well, there's some overlap with Skyrim,
Yeah.
and then other ones are different.
So I shout Fufrota and like
Yeah, you start hearing
a
like
wind
the,
torrent.
you start hearing the like Dovahkiin chant that plays whenever you get near one of those
Yeah.
dragon altar things. Yep.
Okay.
I'll point to the top and it's the obelisk and say, Fatty, that's magic up there.
Alright, well, let's not go too close to that until it's checked out the whole place.
But what if that's what you're looking for?
Well, it's better to secure the whole chamber
I mean,
first.
you could jump up there and just take a look.
So I'm sorry, it's not transmutation. It's actually conjuration.
Conjuration.
Can I roll any sort of perception to see if there's any creatures besides ravens here?
It's dark, but yeah, you can.
Or what had used like Yako's smell?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that is gonna. Well, I'll let you do this first.
Sure. So I got a 28.
28 with Yakko smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you begin to enter into the chamber, Yakko sniffs the air.
Something here.
Begins to snarl a little bit, but
Okay.
Yakko's kind of looking around as if he's unsure where the smell is
Okay.
coming from, but he definitely senses something about this room and gives you a warning.
Okay. And then I'll whisper like there's something else here.
I want to go up to the obelisk.
Okay, so you send up to the second
Yeah.
Quick
level. From
question.
up there, you can see another set of stairs ascending on the left and right sides of the room that go up maybe another 10 feet to another level, and you can't really see anything on that level at all.
Well, my main objective is just to get to a more central location to get find sense.
Right, okay.
How dark is this room? Is it like completely dark?
It
Aside from
is
the light sources we have?
Completely dark other than the light sources.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not even actually checking out the obelisk yet. I just wanted to
Okay.
go further in.
What is your divine sense hit for you?
Anything affected by the Hallowed spell or the location of any celestial fiend or undead within 60 feet that's not behind public cover.
It's about in that sort of range. Yeah, as you sort of stand next to the obelisk and let your senses extend, praying to Asamahen to give you guidance to anything that might be in this area. Let me check one thing. Yeah, you don't seem to sense anything within that presence.
Okay.
Within that area.
I'll call back. I think it's clear. I don't think anything here is going to hurt us.
And then I'm gonna tell Eli when we're ready, I want you to cast light on the obelisk.
And he kind of looks at you and says, I could do it now, if that would help.
I'm sure we want to right now, maybe.
What does the room look like from the entranceway where we are?
It looks like there's kind of a tiered structure to it, so you have stairways going up on the left and
But
right.
it's just like,
Yeah,
if
and
we
then-
walk straight, there's like a wall.
Yeah, there's a wall in front of you that goes up maybe 10 feet. So
But you can see
from your
up.
position, you can see the top of the obelisk,
I see,
but you can't see the bottom of it. So Thaddeus is right now completely obscured from you because he's standing near the base of the
And then you have
obelisk.
to go up the stairs on the side to get out.
Thaddeus, as you get to the obelisk, though, you can see that it is carved with all kinds of arcane runes up and down the sides.
I'm gonna run up there with Betty.
Okay.
Are they in any language I know?
No, it's definitely an arcane script.
I know
I
it's gonna
recognize
kill.
it.
It's not a language, but you could roll an Arcana check to see if you can figure out what this might do. 20. There's no specific effect that seems to be carved into this. But the obelisk almost seems to be, like, the writings almost seems to be, what's the right word? The arcane script almost seems to be asking those who have the power to weave the fate of the world to touch it and use its power.
Maybe you should dunk your hand in the bowl with that.
I'll say that to Thaddeus.
Sorry, what was I missing?
The arcane wording on there, it doesn't seem to describe any specific effect. Like it won't produce anything specific every time it's touched or every time it's activated or whatever. But it seems to be like requesting that those who have the power to manipulate the threads of fate in the world make use of the power that dwells within the obelisk.
That sounds like a dangerous power to me.
You know what? I think this might be, and I'm gonna tell Harmony now, like what Hunter and I learned about with the ritual.
Wait. It's a dead person.
With the dead
Okay.
person and with the queens,
Right.
who
Right.
I feel like Alkeen can't use this ritual, whatever it is. There's no way he can. He doesn't have the people that these sisters have. But Ixali could.
Right. Okay. Unless Ixali gives all of her people to him. Is she recruiting in his name?
That's a good question.
Or he like possesses her after they do the ritual.
Dawn speaks up and says, wait, so the ritual that's in the memory that we're looking for requires
Worshippers.
people, worship, like souls? Or just adoration?
Adoration, something like that. You were there. You heard what they said.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, didn't the entire city get wiped out pretty much? Everyone who worshipped.
That was by accident. I don't think they were
Because it
supposed to.
went wrong.
They weren't
Okay.
supposed to die, but that was where the
Yeah,
power
and you
was
also
coming
don't know if it was everyone. What the skull said, I think, was those who offered their being to the ritual or something like that.
Yeah, the people who were willing, sort of.
But I didn't get the sense that they were
like the spirit bomb.
that they were going to die as a result,
Sure.
except
Okay.
for it got sabotaged. But I might be wrong.
Yeah, sure.
Claudius, you can roll just an intelligence check real quick.
I think that's a straight 0.
More
Then you're a
intelligence.
fool.
Daddy.
It's a 3.
Yeah, okay. Nothing else occurs to you. There was something that I was thinking that Claudius might think of in this moment, since you're sort of verging on that line of thought.
Okay, that's right. Thaddeus wasn't a great student.
Shall we?
Dawn doesn't think of it either. That's a new concept.
Shall we keep looking and maybe circle back to this thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't neither of us can really see the walls of this place from here, right? Because there's my sword gets 15 feet. Well, you could, I guess. You have dark vision.
Yeah, I do have dark vision.
Yeah, so you can see the walls.
Do you guys want
Which
light?
walls?
We want light right now.
The side walls.
The
The
side
ceiling of this chamber is out of range of your dark vision.
What are you looking for?
I was just trying to figure out how big this chamber is.
Oh, it's pretty big. Echo!
Echo, echo, echo.
Yeah, it's
Bounces
pretty
off the
big.
walls, and seems to echo back down the tunnel you
Well,
just came through.
You can see more than I do. Is there anything we should look at?
Well, what's up there?
Pointing to the
Pointing
the
further
stairs.
up the room.
It's sort of like the next tier of the room.
Yeah.
You can't really see anything from the angle you're at.
All right, let's go check it out. Is everyone good?
I think we should stick together.
Yeah, might as well at this point. Okay, and then I'll tell Eli maybe you should cast light on the obelisk at this point.
No, don't cast anything on the obelisk.
Oh, no, anyway.
Don't
Okay,
touch,
never mind.
because
Okay.
he'll have to touch it, and don't touch it.
Oh, you have to touch it.
Eli doesn't have to touch to cast.
Oh.
light.
Yeah.
Still, don't mess with it. There's some magic going on there that
You
I
can see that he was like pulling on his holy symbol. It was like about
like,
to
no,
start
don't do
casting.
it, don't do it, don't do it.
Fine, fine.
Oh, okay.
Just, if
Just
you
let me
need
know
some
when.
light, cast something that you have.
I believe that Eli already did put light on your shield.
On the shield, yeah.
When you get up to the next level,
This is my stomach.
Okay.
You okay?
Taco Bell.
Gee.
When you get up to the next tier of this room, you can again see a stairway on the left and right going up maybe another 10 feet, and then there's a wall. But at this point, you can see what lies on the top tier as well as the tier that you're on. On the tier that you're on, you can see there's 4 coffins arrayed in sort of an ornate pattern across this level. But on the tier above, you can see now emerging from the darkness a massive statue. It's you can just see the edge of it, its head at the very edge of your 60-foot dark vision, so it must be about 60 feet tall, of a woman of just beautiful features, very clearly elven. You can make out that her ears are pointed on the statue, and she has her hands outstretched, and she is wearing a silver half mask across her face that has a you can even actually, I guess you wouldn't be able to tell the color in the dark, but she's wearing a mask across her face that has sort of a beaked nose to it, and then she also has these big wings that billow out from the back of her and sort of align with the back wall of this chamber, and so that's on the level above you.
I just can't see any of that, so he's just gonna go look at these coffins.
Coffins, yeah. I'll look at the coffin.
Roll a perception check.
Does Yako's smell
You don't know what to worry about.
get any more direction on these?
He's still
Yes.
growling
It's
and
just
looking around.
But it
Does
can't.
he have dark vision? I think he would.
So does he have dark vision?
Hunter?
No.
Oh,
Yako.
Yako.
Yeah, go.
Has he got the panther stats?
Yeah.
Said perception. 11.
Let me look. I'm not sure.
So Thaddeus, with your 11, you can see that these coffins are actually relatively
Here it is.
plain.
Nope.
They just seem to be stone boxes carved in a coffin-like shape.
Yes, can smell, but no. Not dark vision.
And there is sort of where the head would be of the whatever or whoever is interred in these coffins. There is sort of a bird-like face carved into the coffin, but that's almost the only adornment onto it. So the panther does or doesn't have dark vision?
Just
Yeah,
can
it's,
smell.
it's just kind of looking around and sniffing and growling.
Which direction is he growling?
No direction in particular, just kind of looking around and growling.
There's something around here.
Well, there were things in the other chamber too, but I don't think the librarians went as far.
If you can discern the librarians as being friendly, then at this point, right? But if you smell something different.
These coffins make me really nervous considering where we are right now.
As you mentioned the librarians, you kind of instinctively turn back to look at the door you just came through, and you can, I guess there's really no light back there, but at the edge of your light you can see some of the librarians beginning to crawl up the sides of the walls and just watch you from above.
Oh, okay, well, speaking of which.
This guy's awesome.
To remind viewers, the librarians are these gaunt, dark, almost like dusky black-skinned creatures with elongated heads, pointed ears, fangs in their mouths, and also these bat-like wings that sprout out of their backs. And they're just kind of climbing along the walls and looking down at you, almost insect-like from the walls.
I'll tell Harmony, if it's undead you're worried about the coffins, I would have said something like that.
Not necessarily.
If you heard the bell ringing coming from here, it was really the bell.
Oh, good idea. I just ring the bell.
Okay. You ring the bell and it really echoes in this chamber because this chamber is so huge. It just bounces off each of the walls. And there's almost something supernatural to the amount that it echoes. It seems to get louder with each echo instead of quieter. Until that sound is almost piercing in your ears. And then Harmony would probably be, well, I guess anyone could be looking that direction. You spot a flash of light in the left hand of the statue at the back of the room, which then goes dark. Like it just flashes with a bright light, very
Like her left
localized
side.
to the left palm up there, and then the room goes dark again.
Would that have like illuminated the statue?
Only briefly. So yeah, then you would have seen the silver color to the mask that is carved onto this female elven statue form.
That is also would have seen the statue for the first time.
Yes.
Ugh.
So, I find like their mage hand. It's in the hall to see what it is.
I mean, you can already jump up there, right?
Well, I'm just thinking we don't want to touch it, but mage hand, maybe we can get a look at whatever it was.
You still have to take magic, right?
I
That
do
is
have
how long
detect
does your
magic
divine
on.
sense last? Is it an instantaneous thing?
It's till the end of my next turn, so it's gone.
Okay, so it's gone.
My detect magic's still up.
That's true. So Harmony, with your detect magic still up, you begin to sense something around every light source in the room, essentially. So looking around at the light spell that's cast on Hunter's shield, and looking around at the light that is cast from Dawn and Thaddeus's weapons, you can see that the shadows are beginning to encroach into the edges of the light and kind of dim them a little bit. And as this happens, as if from nowhere, on the tier below, you see figures beginning to materialize out of the darkness, maybe 6 of them in total.
Guys?
No, slimes. I've played Dragon Warrior before.
These 6 figures begin to materialize as if out of the darkness, and you can see that they are tall, gaunt figures, clad in, I believe, like leatherish armor, black leather armor, and they are wearing what looks like bone masks in the shape of skulls across their faces, and you can just see enough of their mouths, their pale lips, to make out the fact that they are just expressionless as they emerge out of the darkness and pull spears off their back
Oh,
and
dear.
begin to twirl them and point them in your direction. And let's roll initiative.
Are they skeletons?
They look. Hunter actually can't see them, I don't think. No, he can see probably one of them in the edge of Thaddeus' sword light. They don't look to be skeletal so much as human-like, but wearing these skull-like masks.
Interesting. Okay.
Let's get some better music.
Finally. About time. I rolled some good rolls. Ah, yeah.
Of course, not.
Probably.
Yeah, give it back. You don't need that. Grab it.
It's pretty high.
Thank you.
Or should we reveal the map to the viewers, shouldn't I?
Yeah, probably.
There we go.
Which makes sense because I think I'm the only one that sees them.
Yeah.
So yeah, check the edges of your lights and things like that, so we know who can see what.
Yeah.
We won't be picky about it, but...
Oh,
Okay. Harmony, you are indeed first up.
Yeah.
You spot these figures, these gaunt figures with the skull masks appearing out of the darkness and brandishing these spears that they spin around. And as they spin, the shadow of the spear almost seems to cling to it and make it look even more wicked and sinister.
Yeah, that's great.
I think the only one who's not in dim light for me is that
Shadow,
one further
shadow.
over there.
Okay, so you can see most.
I'm gonna. Your PC is
No, sorry.
perfectly blocking everything.
So I'm going to let's see.
I'm really considering whether or not I should just take advantage of regrouping right now. And I never get to go first. This is so weird.
So Ethan.
Mhm.
So what can you explain a little bit what we saw on the left hand of the statue? You said like we saw something go in the hand.
Yeah, like maybe 30 feet up,
Yeah.
where its left palm is sort of outstretched.
Right.
You saw a flash of light above the left palm, then it is.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna say, guys, and I'm gonna back up a couple like here, and I'm gonna fireball
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can
Do
get
you
that
have the-
entire group. I do.
the thing.
Did you say it was
So-
blue light on her hand on the statue scout?
It was like a white light.
Oh, white light. Okay.
Thank you.
Should one of us investigate the hand of the statue?
Not right now.
What's they're after
I'm
though?
trying to see if I can.
What if what?
What is it? What they're
This
after?
guy.
Then we can take care of them first.
I don't think I can catch. Can I catch that guy? No, I can't.
Not quite.
Okay, so I'll just center it like on this guy here. Okay, well,
Uh,
4th level.
Oh
dexterity
boy.
saving throw.
Oh, they're immune to fire. Sorry.
I will be so mad. I will throw erasers at all of you.
Your DC is what?
Fireball.
DC.
My DC is 100 million.
100 million.
Hey, you need a D 100 billion.
It's 19.
Okay.
Okay. 96.
96?
Oh,
What?
Yeah.
96, because I
Jeez,
did it
I know.
4th level.
That's
No!
Here we go.
Take that out.
Just wait until I get my elemental.
I can actually see what you're rolling on. Right.
Yeah.
Having those split tables.
Yeah. No, one's up. Should I do it?
You
I
could.
think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the damage thing.
This
The
power.
empowered spell.
Okay.
And also my wild magic's gonna go off, but we'll deal with that when it comes.
Good thing you stepped away a little bit. Very
So I
good.
think it's up to my charisma mode. Yep, so I can reroll up to 5, so I'll reroll these.
There you go. Sixes. Way better.
Well, it's better. Okay, so
This was
10,
Yahtzee.
Everyone there helps.
20, 31 points of fire damage.
Okay.
Slightly disappointing.
That's pretty good. That was higher than average.
The chamber is briefly lit by a gout
That's why I
orange
did
flame
it.
that is
Like you can see it.
Are the librarians still there? Did they scurry off?
The librarians are still there, and the fireball doesn't quite extend to the walls of the chamber, so they're able to stay out of reach of the
I was
bullets.
wondering if we could see them still, if they ran away or not.
You get a brief look at most of the entire chamber, and I'll say, roll a perception check for Gyakko at disadvantage.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I got 1. Do
Okay.
you want the modifier too?
Sure.
Okay, so that is 13.
Or
Okay. Yeah, so you don't notice anything else, or Byakko doesn't notice anything else.
He's
But
fixated.
the room is briefly illuminated by this orange flame, and you can see that there's maybe 20 or so of these librarians
Oh my
up on
gosh.
the walls,
Wow.
looking
Not
down
even helping.
and watching this with interest.
Not even helping.
Anything else from Harmony? When the
yeah.
fire clears, they are still standing there.
So my wild magic surge is 48.
48.
Which is actually a pretty good one. Thank God I can pick.
Oh yeah, you get a choice of 2 or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that one's actually really good.
It's so good. Is this a permanent thing? Yes.
You guys watch as Harmony briefly,
Shrinks?
no, it doesn't shrink.
Darn it. That's all I know.
After she casts her spell, her eyes kind of glaze over and they get this like starry look in them. And Harmony, you're briefly hurtling through time and space, and like it's as if like knowledge is being forcefully crammed into your head and simultaneously taken from it. There's just this flow of knowledge from the universe to your brain at this moment, and when all of the colors and swirls and stars and everything that you saw in that brief moment of enlightenment clears, you have a moment of understanding and learn something new. And you know what you learned, so you can pick that out when you have time.
That's the end of my turn.
Okay. I think it's Hunter Squad.
Oh, it's my turn?
No, it's not actually.
No, it's not.
Hunter Squad.
Those figures
Don't let them go before me.
actually stand menacingly still, almost doing nothing, and then appearing as if from almost nowhere.
Secret mini-con?
Oh, did you have it?
From around this area, these figures almost appear from out of nowhere and come rushing at Thaddeus and Harmony.
What are they coming
Oh
out?
no!
20, 25, 30. This one will stay back. You see 3 more of these figures step out of the shadows, sort of at the very edge of the dim light of Thaddeus' sword, and make their way towards Harmony and Thaddeus. Well, one of them hangs back. So the one that made its way towards Thaddeus gets to make 2 attacks. So that is plus 8 range. So 24 and 23.
Oh yeah, I can shield this one.
Okay, so neither of those hits. And then it can also cast a spell. So you can see it casts a spell on itself, and shadows begin to whirl around it as if forming like an armor about it. The one against Harmony will do the same thing. Fortunately, rolling very poorly. That's only 10 and 15 to hit.
I will shield.
Okay. And it casts a similar spell around itself, where you can see shadows begin to form around it. And then the last one, from its position way over there, because it can't quite, it could reach that. Yes, it'll go double team with that, so why not? It'll kind of come around this side of the coffin. Make 2 attacks against Thaddeus. So there's a 26 and a 10, so the 10 misses, right?
26 will hit.
Okay. We do 6. So you take 6 piercing damage as it jabs its spear into you, and then some necrotic damage from the shadows. And so 30 necrotic damage.
Oh
as
my
it
god.
plunges its spear into you, and then the wound instantly begins to. You can like feel the necrosis beginning to take over in that area.
Wow.
Yikes!
That's hurtful.
And then it turns towards Mara and casts a spell, which is going to be this one. So I need you to make a Constitution saving throw as a black beam of energy extends from the tip of its spear towards you.
Are you in range of the aura?
What is your aura, Thaddeus?
No, she's not. It's only 10 feet, I believe.
12. 12? What is its spell save DC? Not quite enough, unfortunately. So I'm going to roll some damage. So let's see, it's how many? 6, 20. 44 points of necrotic damage as its spell just lances towards you, connects with Mara's chest, and Mara, you can feel almost as if
Uncanny dodge.
it was a Constitution save, unfortunately. The
Says
beam
Pinky.
connects with Mara's chest, and it's almost as if moisture is being pulled from your body, and you feel yourself withering under the beam that connected with it. Hunter, it's your turn.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. My friends are dying. The first turn.
I am very.
Okay,
That's not gonna do
so
much.
so did these guys technically go? Or
No,
not?
they
They
passed it.
stood still, ominously.
But they did have a turn.
Yep.
Okay, so I
They
don't
seem
get, I don't
to
get
be-
advantage on them.
They
is what
seem
I'm
to
asking.
be No, you don't. They
Okay.
seem to be the same as the group of people that just emerged from the shadows. Except for that they didn't move. They're all wearing like the same skull masks and brandishing the same spears and wearing the same dark leather armor.
So now that they're in better lighting, do we notice anything special about them? Do they resemble anything like that we know about, or
I'll let you roll a perception check.
does that take my turn, or can I just do that?
I'll let you roll
freely?
for free.
Okay.
Just it's a quick thing, so you won't get too much information. But
Okay,
you
sure.
get something.
So 13.
These don't trigger any specific memory of you.
Okay. Or like, are they from the ritual? Like, are they like dead people from the ritual or something?
With 13, the one thing you'll do notice is that they do have pointed elven ears coming off what you can
Okay.
see of their pale faces. And their hair all seem to have like this pale white hair that is tied back in like long no, like long ponytails and things like that.
Okay. And then, gosh, so they just appeared and started attacking. They almost didn't move. So they didn't do anything. Like, there's nothing noticeable they did.
No, they
Okay.
almost seem to just be staring at you.
Alright, so I guess I will set my bow, and if I have to, I'll step back a little bit and shoot these guys
Okay.
with my scope.
Do you have 30 feet? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25? Yeah, you just got 30
Yeah,
feet.
if not, if I have to, I'll step back or I'll go diagonal that way with my movement. But if I can just keep them there, I'll stay there. Okay, so let's give it a shot. Just use the bowstring. Oh, I got a crit. Okay, so I'm gonna hit one of them real good. Did that hit? This is magic or
No, that
okay.
hits him.
Cool. Bowstring, let's see what happens. We got 6, which is telekinesis. It's a strength save, DC 15.
Okay.
I'm also going to use a maneuver to trip that one.
You want to know something?
I do.
Roll a 14 plus 0.
Oh,
So that
telekinesis!
Mhm.
Oh boy. Okay, hang on. Maybe, let's see. So now, this is the first time I've gotten this. You can move it any direction in 30 feet, and it's restrained. What does restraining do? Does it just give us advantage and stuff, or is it?
Yeah, I think it's disadvantage on dexterity saving throws, and
It's
attacks against it have advantage.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a distracting shot on it then. Wait, so we do get advantage on it? On attacks or not? Or is speed is 0?
Your second one, you would get advantage
Okay, I would get advantage.
if you attack it with your second shot.
Okay.
All attacks against this creature have that.
Can I disarm it?
Can you use multiple? Well,
I'm using
both
this.
can
I'm
use-
picking which one I want to use.
Then yeah, you can try and disarm.
I'll try and disarm him then, if we already have advantage. But I was gonna use distracting.
Yeah.
If we didn't already have advantage.
Where do you move him to, by the way?
I don't have to move him, do I?
No, it's not if you don't want to.
No, I'll just keep him there so then people can just destroy him, I guess.
Alright.
Okay.
And I'll try and disarm him, and let's use some damage.
What kind of saving throw is that?
Strength.
DC 15? Or
Yeah, does he get disadvantage if he's restrained on strength saving throws?
I don't know. I'll find out.
Okay. I'll get my damage dice.
There it is.
This.
I don't know. I think they're more than people than strong.
16. 24.
Disadvantage on dexterity saving throws, but not strength ones.
Okay.
That
He does fail his strength saving throw though, so his spear clatters to the floor.
Okay, so I did
Yes.
42 magic piercing damage to him, and he's restrained and disarmed.
So 42, you said?
Yes.
Ethan has to do math.
Okay, and then I'm gonna make my next shot.
When you pull up an arrow to take the second shot, as you're watching, he takes the first arrow, and then as he does, he basically vanishes from sight, and then it's gone. Oops, that was bad. That was really bad. Everything's fine.
Here, do you want me to move him? I can move to the board for you.
He just disappears from sight.
Can I shoot something else then?
Yep.
Alright, I'll shoot the other one with that easy. Same old business, sharpshooter and all that stuff. Okay, that's an 18 on the die, and that is plus 13 minus 5, so that's almost 30.
Hold on, I have one other thing I need to describe.
Okay,
Yes.
sure.
Oh boy, I've lost our map camp position.
You need to get up from the table more gently.
I'm just excited, the heat of the moment.
Also, isn't it easier
Good
for you
enough.
to come this way? Isn't there less things for you to knock over?
Probably. So when you shot him and he vanished from sight,
Yes.
these three here also vanished from sight.
Oh, weird. Okay, that's interesting.
Just disappearing
Wonder
into
why there's
shadow.
3 and then. Okay, whatever. So I'm shooting the other one. I got a 26 to hit.
The other one next to Thaddeus?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
That will hit for sure.
Okay. And I'm gonna do a trip attack to knock him down, knock him prone, which is a DC 19 strength saving throw.
You really know how to pick the saves for these guys. He fails. He falls prone.
Okay. And then that is 27 piercing damage.
It's okay.
And then I will.
He also disappears from sight.
Okay, and the third one's still there?
He's still there.
I'll shoot him too.
And when he disappears, no, nothing else happens.
Alright, then I'll shoot the third one.
Okay.
Ooh, that's not good. That is 23 minus 5. That is 18 to hit.
That does hit.
Okay. Trip attack on that one then.
He fails too and falls prone.
Okay. So 14. Does he disappear as well?
Yes, he will. He
Okay.
disappears.
So
How much damage do you do to him?
that is 14 plus 18, so that's 32.
That is all that happens then.
That's
Are these still at? These guys still here?
They still are there.
huh.
Still standing still.
Are they on fire a little bit?
Don't understand.
Did anything light on fire? There's light.
No, not over there. Then it is Byaku's turn. If you don't have anything else.
With our targets gone.
They're down there!
Yeah, I guess he'll just pounce and jump at. Yeah, that one back. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, that's
Okay.
Or yeah, I was actually gonna go for this guy.
Sure. As he pounces at it, he goes straight through.
Okay.
And
There's
the
illusions or
image
something.
does not move.
I see. So okay, so it's just attacking. It's like an illusion. Huh.
And he kind of skids to a halt on the other side of the creature.
Okay. Weird. Can he try and detect where they went? The other ones?
Sure. Have him roll a perception check.
Okay.
Unfortunately, well, actually, because he's.
I mean, if not, that's
it's
fine.
a more thorough search, so
That's
there
okay.
would be a full action.
That's okay.
For that.
Yep.
Unfortunately. But you can see him kind of looking around at the rest of these three and sniffing them, and he looks confused, and he kind of looks back at you.
I'm sniffing and confused too. I don't know what they are. I'm just trying to sniff. Okay.
Anything else from Byakuo?
I guess if he still has movement left, he'll try and make his way back.
Yeah, he is probably.
So he has. I'll do that, and then someone else can go. But he has 50, I think, right? It's not really. Yeah, 50 feet. So he went. Where was he? He was right here. Ish.
Other
I think
side,
he's
I
here.
think.
Here. 5. So he can move 5 back. So he can move maybe back up here.
Okay. Then it is.
Well, there's a big wall. He has to like go up.
He has climb speed. But I guess he can. I just wanted to protect the squishy people. Maybe like up there. They can just maybe they can just sit on this little. There. That's where they are.
Okay,
Protect
it's
the
Mara's turn
squishies.
now.
And
Yep.
all the enemies are gone. Scared them away.
Kay, what you missed was Byakuo pounced through one of the ones at the lower level,
Mhm.
and it turned out it was some sort of illusion.
It's like an illusion. Thank you.
Cool.
I can see you hating me. Mara, it's your turn.
Sirs, they were immune to fire!
They were in a sense.
Okay, so Mura is down to 7 health. So I'm gonna,
7?
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask if anybody has a potion.
You look around, sort of like reeling from the blast that you took, and you can see, where are Eli and Dawn? Did you move them?
Oh, they're
right
next to
here.
Byakuo.
I have one great.
You can see Eli and Dawn both beginning to ready prayers and spells.
Okay. So in that case, let's see. So those are illusions.
Apparently.
So nothing happened to them when you fireball them. Apparently not.
Yeah, you couldn't see because the fire sort of obscured vision and then disappeared, so you couldn't tell that there was.
Apparently nothing happened to them,
Apparently not.
right? Dungeon Master?
Well, I mean, does Harmony?
Oh, bane of my existence?
You have a fortress. You're fine.
Yeah, you can't get to me. I'm safe.
Watch me.
Casting mage armor over here.
Dragon turtle.
Well, dragon turtles won't work because Melissa knows some of their stats. So.
That is true. All the weaknesses.
What does Mara want to do?
That's what my mom always says too.
So, when we came in here, remind me, do I have anything lit?
I think
Or
you
am I
were,
relying on everybody?
you were
There's
using my
some
staff because my staff was lit up
Yeah, that sounds right.
at some point.
Yeah, there's light currently emanating from Hunter, Harmony, Thaddeus, and Dawn.
I think you can imagine that this half of the room is pretty dim or well lit.
Okay. So, I don't know what to do.
Honestly, if
Shadow.
sorry, you know, I pulled my attack until these things were trying to get rid of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good
Probably a good
idea
idea.
because I don't think I can do anything else.
Okay, so you're holding your action until something appears next to you, and then you're going to stab it? Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Okay. So you kind
Or
of
you
take
can
a
throw it,
stance and brace yourself. Eli is already next to Mara. So he's going to slap a hand down on Mara's back.
Yeah.
That's a big
Is
one.
that a librarian?
Yep.
It's a librarian.
Eli will cast a 4th level cure
Just-
wounds onto Mara.
Thank you,
You can
Eli.
use the magazine that's like next to the.
There he goes again.
So 48 plus his modifier, which
Which one?
is
Right here.
Yeah, that
The
one.
King Informer.
Oh!
Mara, Eli slaps his hand down on you, on your back. Yep, and his hand kind of glows as he does, and he cancels this prayer / spell, and you restore 23 hit points.
Thank you.
Now, mark
Back
off.
up to 30.
Is it not dead?
We'll wait till this like insight debacle has settled down before we continue playing.
This is gonna be a good part of the YouTube video.
Oh yeah, you know, everybody is just like wanting to know if this insect gets out of the door. Next up is
I'm
Thaddeus.
making
though,
3
so-
attacks as a librarian.
Well,
Why is it so hard to get it to go outside?
Thaddeus is gonna use his divine sense again.
Oh, smart.
It's not gonna hurt you, it's just a little pop.
Alright, we're pretty much got it. No, I think I killed it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Maybe
you
that's
did.
why it's not.
Like the way you were using that magazine, I was like, that thing's dead.
Okay.
There's 5 more flying now.
Yeah.
I know. Well, we
Where
have
do you
dark.
Anyway,
Maybe. Yeah, under the stage.
So Mara got some healing and took up a defensive stance. Then Thaddeus, you're going to use your divine sense.
yes.
You get a
It's
feeling
If they're gone, then I won't sense them. But if they just turn invisible somehow, then I should know.
if they're one of the types that you can sense.
Sure.
You get a sense that you remember from when you were down in the sewers underneath Ravenmoor. That is, everywhere that is shadows surrounding your lights is giving off a strong presence of undead.
I'm gonna go back to the group
Okay.
and say, we brought them into this. They're everywhere. I don't think these are the Raven Queens.
Well, they certainly. They didn't have any iconography on them that indicated that they were servants of the Raven. No.
let's fall back to the statue.
Okay, so that's your turn. Any movement beyond that?
I don't have a dash action to use.
Okay. Then no action on there.
23.
Dawn is going to take her action to move to the statue, since that's what you seem to be doing. Or she'll use her movement rather, and then she will probably have a spell to cast.
Yeah, Dawn can make it all the way to the statue.
She chooses any creatures within 30 feet of her. So she's going to clasp onto her holy symbol as she begins to descend down the stairs, and she looks to Thaddeus and Mara, and as she incants a prayer to her god, the god of the sun, there's a flash of light that kind of flows between the three of you, and each of you restores 20 hit points.
Oh, dang.
Nice.
Nice.
Just to be clear, when I use my advanced sense, like these three didn't ping at all, right?
Nope.
Interesting.
And then something happens.
Nothing happens.
Something happens. You hear it starts as a low sound throughout the room, and then it just begins to echo and get louder and louder. And it's a chuckle, a familiar chuckle to many of you at this point in time. And those of you who have heard it will recognize it as the deep chuckle of Alkeen. And it echoes throughout this entire chamber. And then Harmony, who is the only one who has vision up to the palm of the statue, where there was that flash of light, you see a shadowy figure. You can't make out really any details because you can't see color.
Well, Dawn's right here, though.
Oh, you were trying to gather at that statue.
Yeah,
Oh,
what
okay.
statue did you think?
I thought you were talking about the statue.
Oh,
Then
it was.
yeah, all of you can see in the light of Dawn's statue, this figure step out onto the palm of the hand where you saw the flash of light, and it's holding this shadowy rapier in one hand, and it has this billowing crimson cloak out the back. And you can see that its skin is, perhaps once it was of like a darker color, but lack of exposure to the sun has left it paler than it should be. The vampire Alkeen steps out onto the palm of the hand, and he looks down and surveys the room and says, "Pitiful heroes, you've fallen exactly into my plans," and revealed the shard of memory. And he reaches down to something you can't see on the palm of the hand and pulls up what looks like a crystalline raven skull, and he holds it in his hand and tucks it into his pocket, and he says, "And now all I have to do is sit back and watch as my minions destroy you, and then I will ascend to godhood." And he unfortunately used most of his turn to step out onto the palm of the hand, but he stands up there maybe 30 feet up, surveying the rest of you. And that is his turn.
Call
And
it.
it's up to Harmony.
I'm sunbeaming him, bitches.
Okay.
Good call.
I'm like, oh no you don't, and I thrust up both my hands and I just cast sunbeam.
Maybe do one in Sunday.
Yeah.
Glad you saved your Nova.
That wasn't my. I mean, this isn't my Nova.
That's fair.
I still have that.
What is the save on Sunday?
It is not. No, it's a.
He doesn't get to make
It's a
it. He just
constitution. It's a constitution save.
Okay, okay.
But he'll make it at disadvantage, won't he?
Because it's radiant damage.
No, because he's undead.
Do you want to make this save at disadvantage?
Yes.
Start part of the spell?
Undead and oozes have disadvantage on the saving throw.
Oh, the oozes.
So he does fail, but he'll use a legendary resistance to succeed.
It's okay. It still takes half damage. On a failed save, no, on a successful save, it takes half as much damage and isn't blinded. So let's see.
Yeah, I guess we're doing this, huh? This is kind of not where I thought this would happen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not ready yet. We still have to do other stuff.
Alright, that's not bad. That's not bad. Let's see.
What else is on your agenda?
This is the last thing on it.
Is this the last thing on the agenda still?
The agenda currently, as it stands, is where did it? It's there. Secure Anastasia memories, which I guess you failed to do. Kill Queen Ixlati, free Mantis. The last thing is kill Alkeen.
We're working.
It's kind of a short term thing. He doesn't have any elder hemorrhages and stuff.
31 radiant
That'll
damage.
come. 31?
Yeah.
Okay, so he adds that down to 15.
Yep.
Um,
And can I? Let's see. It says for the duration, a mote of brilliant radiance shines in my hands. It sheds bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim light for an additional 30 feet.
The light is sunlight.
And it says you can create a new line of radiance as your action on any turn until the spell ends.
Yes.
But I can't use my quicken spell to use it again because that's not giving me another action. It's giving me another spell to cast. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I would need to look at the spell myself. That was a lot of
It's a good spell.
Sounds like a good spell.
I'm basically a beacon of light right now, and I can keep using this spell.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Yeah. I took this specifically for it.
Sorry, you said it's daylight? Or sun, what is it?
Sunbeam.
Sunbeam!
Sunbeam.
Okay, beam of
It's
brilliant
the
light.
time where we use Holy Water.
Okay, so if anything else was in the line, taking damage.
Yep.
Cool, good to know.
Yep.
So constitution is not built, so it takes 6 points. Why and so it's not fine. And new line of radiance is your action on this is okay, good to know. At the
So I'm gonna say, Fatty, get up there and take back that memory. With your special jumping boots.
I can get there. Don't worry.
I'm just gonna look at a couple things that you can do. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm also on my turn. I think gonna move a little bit. Ooh. Just so I'm not right next to where this guy is gonna be. So I'm gonna stand there.
With that face.
I don't remember if there was a guy there.
Are you gonna step out of Thaddeus' protection aura?
You're moving anyway?
Not yet. Not for a little while.
I moved already.
Okay.
So at the end of your turn, Alkeen he hisses and recoils from the sunlight you just threw at him.
Who's a pitiful hero now?
You'll pay for that! And you see he, with his sword, begins to make swishing motions through the air from where he is. And you watch in horror as your shadow, Thaddeus' shadow, and Hunter's shadows rush towards each other, and almost as if sewn together by magic, are stitched together and kind of reach and conglomerate at a single point in the middle. Then that's the end of his turn. And it's the other guy's turn.
That doesn't sound good.
Well, come out of here and then leave his invisibility. Come over here and leave his invisibility. This one.
They were invisible.
Yes.
They're not dead.
Those creatures with the skull masks will reappear. 2 of them on Harmony. Their first attacks will be at advantage because they're coming out of invisibility.
We're doing a lot of damage here.
Don't blame me.
Hopefully not too much.
So that is 20 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
Okay, and then the second attack is 18 to hit.
Well, both hits.
So 6 is damage.
Huh?
Should have given him that shield for a second.
Well, we weren't feeling injured.
Yeah, I think on your turn we were.
So you take 10 piercing damage
Okay.
from both of
Was
those.
that from both? So, I guess it doesn't matter what they
It
were.
was, well, I guess it was a d6 plus 4 for each, so it's actually 20. So roll 2 6s.
20?
Yeah,
Big
because
fucking-
it's 10 and 10.
Oh,
So,
okay. Oh, I see. I see.
20 damage.
Oh, wow.
So I just need to beat 10 both times.
11. Well, hold on, there's necrotic damage coming too.
Is that included in the attack or is it separate?
It's separate damage, but it's part of the same attack. So that is 6 plus, so it's 21. So the first one, the DC is 15 because you take 31 points of damage total.
Yeah, cost.
And the second one, wow, high damage.
I'm not gonna take anything. Just give it to me all together at the end. This is too confusing.
I just cannot do math right now. 38 total, so your DC is going to be It's
19.
19.
How much was the total damage then?
So altogether for both of them?
No.
No, what's the total damage altogether for both of them?
31 plus 38. So,
I'm down.
okay. Harmony drops and the sunlight around her fades. And the vampire on the statue chuckles.
That was exactly the amount of HP I
Yeah,
had
that
left.
is exactly it. Yeah.
Exactly.
He chuckles from up there and says, "See, your sunlight even is pitiful." And that is them, and then there's
Use
one
your
next to
reaction
Hunter.
thing.
I sure could if she was still in my aura.
The one next to Hunter stabs out with a 21.
Oh, he's attacking me with a 21?
Yep.
Okay, that hits.
So that's 9 points of piercing damage. So that's halved for you.
4.
And then
I can't even do anything about necrotic spell.
jeez, these damage rolls.
Tell me more.
36
Total?
points of necrotic.
Or is that with, okay, just 36 extra?
Yep.
Okay, wow, that's really high. Okay. Oof. My hunter bones.
I can't think of
I
any
have a
spells.
spell. Second from necrotic damage, but I can't use it because I do my 4th level slot. I need 4.
Good job.
Yeah.
It's another reason that fight was a great idea.
Then it's Hunter's turn.
We're gonna leave that one down either.
Okay.
When Harmony falls down, Eli shouts, "Harmony!" And yeah, that's just him reacting to see her fall down.
What to do? Okay. Should we go for these little guys or the big bad? Because now we're kind of in a pinch.
What would Hunter do?
I'm thinking.
You've got one next to you, you've got
I
two
know.
surrounding Harmony's down body.
Not good.
The good news is they don't be, the two that are around Harmony seem to be turning to face the rest of you. They don't seem interested in like finishing her off at this point in time.
Okay. I suppose I really want to shoot the vampire 6 times.
Do it.
By all means.
Yeah, I think I'll do that.
Okay.
Alright, can I just shoot him without penalty, or do I have to move first?
He's not that far.
You do have a guy next to you. Does that impose? That doesn't impose.
No,
any
it doesn't.
disadvantage. So yeah, you're okay.
Alright, so I'm going to do all the same as last time. I can shoot him 6 times.
Okay.
Here we go. I'll use the bowstring. So you can use the bowstring. Yeah, I'm going to use action surge. You want me to use the bowstring before I shoot?
Yeah, before you shoot.
Okay.
Actually, I think you can use it when you hit. So.
Okay, so I can. Alright, that's fine. Well, I'll use it probably in this one if this hits. That is a 25 to hit.
That hits for sure.
Okay, bowstring this one. And then, what do we get in the bowstring? How about drop the shard? That would be a 4, which is drop the shard.
Excellent.
Slow.
Slow. Okay.
So
What's
that's
the
a dex save.
It's not something he's particularly good at, but I did roll a 6 plus 9, so 15. What's
That
the
is
DC?
that is the
Oh,
DC,
okay, so he
15.
passes.
Okay. And I'll make this a disarm.
Okay. That's a strength save.
Strength 19. Make him drop his rapier, I guess. Or wait, he took the other thing away, right?
Yeah, it's in a 5.
Okay, so I can't make him disarm that, or I can't disarm him with that. I can.
You can make him drop his rapier though,
Yeah, I'll do the rapier.
which he does.
Okay.
He drops it down on the palm of the hand.
Or off. Alright, fine. And that is 14 plus 18, 32 magic piercing damage. Does he take it in full? or
If
does
it's
he-
magic, he does take it in full.
Okay, well here's another one. Let's see what happens. That is a. Did we change the scope so I don't get crits on 19?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
change
so that's
it.
not a crit, but it's a 19, so that probably hits.
It does.
Okay.
Sure.
And that is 20 piercing damage,
Okay, non-magical this time.
non-magic, and does that get reduced?
Yeah, it seems to. The first one pierced much more into his skin, and you can see it left, like, as the arrow fell, you can see that it left a bit of a hole in his cloak. However, this one doesn't seem to leave anywhere near as much damage.
Okay. Okay. 15 to hit? Or misses?
Does not. Actually, as that arrow goes flying towards him, you can see, for the first time, shadows whip out up around his feet, and he seems to have 4 or 5 shadows around him that are just like attached to him, and one of them catches it and throws the arrow down.
Are they still there?
The shadows?
Or is that just like
yeah,
a
they're
quick
just
thing?
kind of whipping around him.
So that would make it harder to hit him then?
It's just factored into his armor class. I mean,
Okay,
it's
alright.
flavor.
It's flavor. I was like, oh crap. Maybe I should shoot these last 3. Yeah, I'll shoot him 3 more times. Because I should have done it against 4 and I would have killed him, but let's do it against this guy. See what happens. Okay, I got 217, so that's 25 to hit.
Hit.
Okay, well it's advantage.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Another 2, so that's 20. I'm not gonna use that dice anymore. 20 damage.
Okay.
That's a 22 to hit.
That also hits.
Okay. That is aha!
Aha.
Aha! That's a 30. Okay. And the last one. See if we can't make it count by using my last maneuver. And then my last trick. See if we can't do this. Does a 23 hit? Yes, that should hit, right?
It does.
Okay,
Yep.
for the 22. Okay, so then we'll use a distracting attack.
Okay.
No, that is not a save.
Okay.
The next attack gets advantage on him. And I will just roll damage. Not you. So that was a 213 plus 18, that's 31.
Okay.
And that is all my shots.
So Hunter just like a turret, just
Machine
arrow
gun.
after arrow,
Yeah.
piercing into him. He manages to deflect some with his shadows. You
Ah!
can see he's snarling with these massive vampiric fangs.
Yeah, I'm
from
going
his
for those
position.
fangs too.
I can't see this. I can't
Yako's
see
turn.
anything.
Byako.
Sorry, at the end of your turn, something's gonna happen.
Okay.
He
Apologizes.
Returns the memory and leaves.
he waves his hand, and a globe of darkness appears around the 3 of you, blocking out all your sight. Perfect. Now it's Byako's turn.
Okay. He will. Oh boy. I guess if he can't see the one that was next to me, then he will pounce at the one next to Harmony. So he will jump over here, pounce on that one.
Okay. Roll that attack.
And that is a claw attack, which is a 19 on the die, that's a 28 to hit.
Yeah, totally hits.
Okay, and he has to make a DC 12.
Well, you know
Strength
these
saving
guys are
throw.
just great at strength. He rolls a 2, and he's pounced to the ground.
So he is knocked prone.
Okay.
Right next to me.
And then I get a bite attack. If he has a bonus action. And that is a crit.
Okay.
So I get.
Load me up with damage,
I will
please.
try. So the bite is a crit, the claw is a d4.
I was gonna say that those of you who can see this would see something, but no one can see this.
Ah.
What Byako witnesses is as he's
That's
tearing
nice.
into this creature, you can see sort of its mouth and expression from underneath the skull mask, and it's just blank expression, nothing,
Oh,
as it's just being torn into.
that's not Byako's expression. Now Byako's really upset right
That goes
now.
into it, and there's blood coming everywhere. This thing is bleeding.
Oh, weird. Okay. So he does 14 damage. I rolled 2 ones.
Okay.
96 is not useful anymore. Required. Okay. So that is piercing, and do you need it split between piercing and slashing?
Nope.
Or is it? Okay.
Takes it all.
And that is Byako's turn.
Mara, it's your turn. You are currently engulfed in darkness, unable to see anything.
Oh, that's lovely.
But you did see
I have
Harmony.
blind sense, though.
That's true.
Oh.
So you can feel that there is one of these creatures to the next to Hunter, maybe 5 feet away from you.
Okay, so.
And you can tell from its movements with your blind sense as you just kind of like let your senses extend and try and pinpoint its location. You can tell that it can't see in the darkness, but you can.
Okay. So let's get out.
which means you would have advantage against it, just in game terms.
It's good terms. Keep it that way.
I'm wondering if I should do the Thunder God.
Stabby.
Yeah, the Thunder God one.
Oh, like teleport yourself?
If you teleport from where you are, you're going to hurt Hunter and Thaddeus,
Okay.
Ooh. And the blue one.
which
Eli.
is Eli.
Alright. Then let's do the wind damage.
Are you just like attacking him, stabbing him, or what are you doing?
No, because that hurt me too.
Well, if you teleport using the spell from the lightning dagger, that would hurt him. But if you just stab him,
Yeah.
that would only hurt him.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
you
was
can
just
run over.
thinking about because this one has a way to push them away too.
Oh yeah.
I see.
So that won't work though. Okay. So can I just do a sneak attack since he's close to the stab?
You absolutely can. So
Oh,
roll your
yeah,
attack
get
at
it.
advantage.
Okay.
Wait. You're missing one.
No, he's creepy.
Oh no. Let me just put this over here for you.
Okay, so 16.
16. Need to determine something. Unfortunately,
roll
as
You roll a 7 and a 6.
as you go to stab out, that dagger gets parried away by something in the darkness. It's weird because it's like it almost didn't exist and then it did exist, and you gather it was
But you
that
have
sort of
backhanded.
Yeah, you have the offhand.
armor of shadows that he put on earlier.
Oh.
Use your offhand channel.
Okay. And here's
Roll in. She's like
Nobody
rage
knows.
writing. She's rage noting.
Wait.
don't get advantage on the
Yeah,
second
you do.
one.
Yeah, yeah. He still can't see you.
Can't see you.
See, it's way better.
No.
How
We
much?
wanted high numbers. Oh, I should have
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that absolutely hits.
Sorry.
And she gets sneak
And
attack.
he gets the
You absolutely get sneak attack.
Just no
No bonus.
Dex
bonus
damage.
damage.
Okay, so I can't do it with that one. Sneak attack is 7, 4, 6, 7, and then just.
Yeah. D4.
Oh.
10, 20. That is 27 plus.
Nope.
No
plus,
plus.
no plus.
That's it. Because it's an offhand.
But it's magic.
27.
27 points of damage to that guy. Okay.
This is so well something.
That was more than a little something. That's quite a bit.
Okay, yeah, and you can feel him recoiling from the damage as you feel warm blood splurt from the wound. Anything else from Mara's turn? You've still got movement.
I think I'm gonna. Well, I can't see. I can't. Well,
You have line
yes, I have
sight.
line sense. So I'm gonna move over closer to Thaddeus.
And she doesn't impose an opportunity
Right,
attack
because she
because
has the feature.
of her feature.
He was about to swing.
I was
one.
like, you stop rolling over there,
Also, you have to be able to see somebody to do another.
There you go.
Ha! Overruled. Ha.
Well, this is why I like having Nick around, because he reminds me when I forget things. So Mara moves out of the way. Then it is Eli's turn. Eli can't see anything, but he
Except
saw.
Harmony.
Oh yeah, you can't see
Is
anything
he?
in there.
Yeah.
But he's outside.
He's outside the circle.
Yeah, he is outside the circle, so you can see Harmony. He's going to rush over to Harmony, and he's going to.
Maybe not there though.
Sure.
Good idea.
He's going to use his action, and if anyone but Byakko could see it, these
Byakko can
angelic
tell me about it
radiant
later.
wings spring to life on his back.
Diego puts his glasses on and takes notes, so he can tell me about it later.
And illuminate a good portion of the room, and then he is going to quicken spell a 4th level Cure Wounds into Harmony.
Nice.
Yay!
So that's 11 plus 8, that's 19 plus 5. So that's 24 points of healing into Harmony. and you come to consciousness seeing Eli's angelic winged form over you.
Are you in heaven?
And he just says, come on, Harmony, we can't win this one without you. And then leaps into the air and begins flying towards Alkene with the rest of his 35 movement.
Eli, be careful.
Oh gosh. I thought it would stay there too.
Then it is Thaddeus.
Alright, Thaddeus can't see any of that happening. But here's the shitty thing about Thaddeus. He wasn't going to do anything about it anyway.
Jesus.
That's what you get for leaving my aura, Harmony.
What Thaddeus is going to do is start casting spell and start to move faster and faster.
Okay,
as
as
he
you
does.
begin to move away from the position you were on, I need you to make a strength saving throw.
Okay.
Oh, because it's a shadow thing.
20 ought to do it, I think.
Yep. You can feel your shadow tugging at you, and Hunter and Harmony, you also feel like your shadow is being pulled. But Thaddeus, you managed to struggle against it and can move normally this time.
Oh, good.
Okay. Well, Thaddeus, under the effect of his spell, starts chanting about vengeance against Alkene and jumps up to him.
Yep. You land on the palm of the hand.
Get his
next
right here
to it.
too.
You can now, having left the shadow, see Eli charging towards Alkene through the air on his angelic wings, holy symbol in hand. What would you like to do?
Well, I'm going to make an attack advantage.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will.
Distracted.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I was hoping you or Marla would take advantage of that. Take advantage of that.
So that will be a hit.
Yep, most certainly, probably.
Certainly
You didn't give me a number, so I can't say for sure.
Oh, that was like 13.
Yeah, that's a hit.
Most certainly, probably. That's amazing. Best response.
Most certainly,
God.
probably.
I love that. See, it's okay. I'm already putting my dice over here too. Yeah, these ones.
Yeah.
20.
I swear that's not the one I was looking for. Who's purple like that?
Oh, okay. Well, maybe try this one.
Okay. So that is
Sorry.
12 cold damage and 14 radiant.
Okay. Cold damage and 14 radiant. He does not resist any of that, so he takes it all. So that's a total of 16.
No, 26.
26.
26. I can't do
Yeah.
that. Thank you, guys.
There's a 10 drop somewhere.
Oh wait, is
How convenient.
for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
We dropped a lot of my damage, that's for
And
sure.
that was your turn because you had to use your regular action to cast haste.
So regular action, hasted action, bonus action.
Oh, take a 3.
I don't have any actions left.
Isn't it free action?
Take something? I think,
Yeah,
like,
just
I think
scoop it
that would be like an opposed check.
Yeah.
It's on the ground
It's on the
now.
ground.
His sword?
Yeah.
Well, his sword is on the ground. That's true. You could
Yeah.
just pick up his sword.
Oh, but it's special. Okay,
I care about the other thing he's holding.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Which is in a pocket. Okay. He is going to make take a. Oh wait, his turn hasn't come around. He doesn't have a legendary.
Yeah.
action. He's done with legendary actions, so that's his turn. Then it is Dawn, who's finally going to be able to hopefully do something other than heal.
Heal, I know.
Definitely probably do something, I hope.
She sees that the situation is pretty dire next to Harmony, and she sees that Thaddeus is on top of things up there.
Like a
Literally.
statue.
Yeah.
Ah,
How far can she go? She can't quite get there, but she's going to leap down that 10 feet, trying to roll into it and not take damage. She succeeds by rolling a 19 on the dice,
Good job.
and then she casts a spell as she goes, and if you would just place a dice or something next to one of those guys, she casts a spiritual weapon.
nice.
There it is.
Uh,
I'll turn the tides of battle.
and we'll make an attack with it. Plus 8, so 22, so that's a hit. It's just spiritual weapon.
And what level cast that against?
She's actually over on spell slot. She'll go up to 3rd.
Gets extra muscular as it goes up higher.
So 3rd is 1d8 plus 1d8 plus 1d8, so 3d8. high damage. Oh, wow. So 19 plus 5, so 24 points of radiant damage into that guy.
Nice.
Also remember that it's knocked down if she's attacking the knockdown one.
She doesn't get it crit.
Okay.
But, nonetheless.
It's good. Oh,
How much did I just say? 24?
29?
24.
24? Minus 10?
Sorry. Should have gone with it.
I heard
back.
20 something.
That's Dawn's turn. Then it's Alkeen's turn. Oh, and boy, does he have the Thaddeus next to him.
Is his turn before my turn?
You're at the start. He's at the very bottom. So you're next.
Oh, it was a legendary action.
Yep. He will pick up his Shadow Rapier.
Ever have protection?
But he's not actually going to use it. He's going to use his Strangling Shadow attacks against Thaddeus. Okay. So the first Strangling Shadow is 22.
I'll shield.
Second Strangling Shadow is only 12. And third Strangling Shadow is a 29.
That still hits, even with that. It's a 27 and 6.
So you take a 12 points of bludgeoning damage. Oh, actually, no, you're not going to take any of that. Because the shadow instead then grapples you.
Okay.
And then, with his movement, he's going to drop down off the statue, which is...
I can still.
Yeah, you can still make an attack.
Yeah, still going. Can I get an advantage on this? I'm gonna skip words.
Everywhere.
19 hits? No,
Yes,
wait,
it does.
it's 21 hit?
Yes, to a 19 would have hit too, for the record.
What about an 18?
I'm not going to say anything about an 18.
Probing.
15 cold plus 10 radiant.
Okay. So what is that? That's
25. Yeah.
29.
Here's the thing also. Where does he go?
He drops down off the statue.
Just like this way?
Does grappling mean my speed is 0? Because I'm not strained yet.
Your speed is 0, is what it means.
For grappling? Because I thought it was
Yes.
just for speed.
Or,
Grappling means your speed is 0, right? But you can still take actions when you
Yeah.
are hindered.
Yeah, right. So I can't follow on the other part that's not. Because normally I get to have my speed as a following.
right, that's right.
But I can't.
Well, if I can finish doing the math here, hold on. I still was in the middle of doing math.
So much.
Oh.
Oh, geez. Okay. He took some falling damage, and then
Very graceful.
I mean,
Good.
comparatively, he did land pretty graceful, but he does take a little bit of falling damage. And then he begins to
And then body part will fall off.
speed 30, or is it higher? It's 30. And so that's where he ends his turn in darkness from everyone. So no one can see him at the moment. Then it is Harmony's turn.
I can see him now.
Is he within 60 feet?
I have dark vision.
Within 60 feet, though.
But then it's like dim light
3,
past
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, yes. I think, right?
I need
Each
to
one
look at
is
dark vision.
5 feet, so that'd be 12 spaces.
Well, I'm
So you
within 60 feet anyway.
Yeah, she can see him. Barely. Right there.
So you are within 60 feet?
Yeah.
I thought you counted up to 11. So.
Well, it'd be 12 though, right?
Then yeah, you can just see him at the edge of your vision.
Alright, well, how many legendary resistances do you think you
My dragon turtle says 12 feet. More than 1, less than 5.
Yep, so I stand up and I'm going to cast Hold Monster on
Okay. What kind of save is that?
it. I think it's a
His worst one.
fuck you save. It's a wisdom saving throw.
Wisdom. 21.
Is it worth spending luck on it? Is it worth wasting a bit of luck because he's got a resistance anyway?
Could have burned the resistance if we're actually aiming for the.
If you burn the resistance, you might be able to
Yeah.
I'm gonna bend luck on it.
Okay. Your spell save DC is
19.
19. So
So
you
you roll
have to.
3 or 4.
So if I roll a 3 or 4.
Oh, 50-50 chance. Bend luck on your dice.
He will spend a resistance to resistance. But that's the second one burned up.
Okay, and then I'm going to quicken spell. Spend 2 more of these to quicken spell. And 7th level sunbeam.
Okay.
7
That's
level
a-
something
yes.
that you just said?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
He passes his.
Wait, did he make a disadvantage?
No, he didn't. He fails his save.
But no but? He just fails?
He fails to save.
Okay. He's blinded.
Roll your damage.
He's blinded.
What I need to know is your damage.
I know, hold on. Hold your horses.
So you're like, calm.
I need to check if this one gets extra damage for higher levels. Because it doesn't say on my card. Hold on.
I just had the page up, and now I don't.
It does not.
It doesn't? So it's the same? Okay. So, 68.
Big money, big money, big money.
8.
Yep. Yeah.
These are some good ones.
Oh,
That's
shit!
good.
Oh shit! Hold on. Okay.
That's
Okay, I can't do
30.
That's 24,
35.
30, 35 radiant
Okay.
damage.
This beam of sunlight conjures from your staff and goes bursting across the room.
Also, did I get one of those guys in it too?
Is it a line attack?
It's a
It is a
line.
line. Let's find out. So you gotta have to go directly towards him.
I would have gotten the spiritual weapon, I think.
I mean,
Well, I mean, you could probably argue it'd be either one of these targets, right?
technically you'd have to move to even get him in a line.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Xanathar's had some nice
Which way?
explanations of lines and stuff.
I've got half of my movement. Like I can move through Byakko, right, and just come over
But
here.
then you'd be like risking other ways.
Yeah, you would.
Which you would certainly take.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Do you think it's a line?
I mean, yeah, like you can get him in a line, but without moving, you're not gonna be able to get anyone else. 'Cause
That's fine.
Technically, you
I
can't
was
get
just
him in a
making
line.
sure I didn't hit Dawn.
Right. Yeah, Dawn's fine.
Okay.
So this beam of light erupts from the tip of your staff and shoots across the room. And you can see that he was clearly about to make his getaway with this crystal skull.
About
But
to.
the beam of light pierces through his body entirely and shines out the other side. And you can see that it just kind of begins to fade into shadow. And he says, "Fine, my minions will bring it to me. We'll meet again." And his shadow dissipates. And Thaddeus, just for effect, you can feel the presence leave the room.
Nice.
Oh,
Wait, is the skull still here?
Yeah, and so all of his stuff disappears with him except for the skull clatters to the ground right here.
Yes! Yes! That's what you get for knocking me down, bitches!
Clutch, defend,
Best
like, clutch,
heroes.
defend, love, like sunbeam.
Yeah!
that was so good.
Yeah!
Oh,
We had a plan.
And on that note, we're gonna have to call this battle partway through
Okay.
Oh my god.
because
Sunbeam is
it's
up.
9 o'clock. So, thank you everyone who tuned in. That was a pretty awesome fight. It's not over yet. We'll pick it up next week when we're back on Monday at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Pacific
I
time.
feel like that was payback for every fireball that you've made.
I feel like it was the last. Every
reason-
single last
The
fireball.
reason I didn't bother like spending a legendary resistance was because he had 4 HP.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But I will say his parting words make it seem like he's not dead.
Yeah, I figured.
No, he's
But as
dead.
long as we
That's
got
it.
the memory.
You
Mission
could
accomplished.
intuit
Mark it off the
as
agenda.
a shadow clone or some sort.
As long as we got the freaking memory.
Well, you don't have it yet. It's on the ground.
As long as he didn't leave with it. Amended.
Well, Thaddeus is gonna come up. Thaddeus has way more than anything has to. And he
You also are pretty low in
Oops,
initiative.
I just stopped streaming. Well,
Oh.
that's fine. Goodbye.
Yeah.
This will be in the VOD on YouTube. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye!